Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be talking about love messages for your zodiac sign, and specifically we're going to be talking about what is coming in your love life next. Now this is basically for August, and for some people it can leak into September. This is kind of like a timeless reading. It's just like what is next in your love life based on your chart right now, and especially in August. So we're going to go over your predictions for that. Now this is based on rising signs or moon signs, so you can watch this video for Sidereal, rising, or moon signs. And I already filmed the August predictions. It's up on my channel already. In that video, I talk about like the general predictions for August, and that doesn't include love. This one is about love. So let's just get into it. Now we'll start off with the fire signs, then we'll go to air, water, earth, etc. Okay, so let's start off with Aries. So for you, Aries, the curious thing about your chart is that right now you have your 7th house ruler, which is Venus, conjunct the North Node. The North Node is all about destiny. It's about fate, and Venus is about love, relationships, partnerships. And Venus is a very significant planet in your chart, especially because it rules your 7th house. 7th house is the house of partnership, marriage, etc. So for Aries rising specifically, or moons, definitely there is love in your forecast for you. Especially, I sense this theme of unexpected love. When it comes to North Node, it's kind of like this unexpected energy, and when we have our planets, especially for you having your 7th house ruler Venus conjunct your North Node, it really represents maybe something unexpected coming your way, or unexpected love coming your way. And especially having this energy in your 3rd house. 3rd house is the house of coworkers. It's the house of hobbies. It's the house of short distance travel. So for a lot of you guys, I do sense you getting into some sort of, I would say, fling. We're going to talk about the other aspects at play here, but definitely there's like fling energy for Aries. I would say this energy isn't too serious. This isn't like the most like marriage ridden transit, or like the most engagement, serious relationship type of transit for you, but it does suggest an unexpected fling, some sort of partnership you didn't expect, but that is fated for you, that is destined for you. When it comes to North Node, it is destiny, it is fate. Venus is love. So some sort of destined partnership is definitely on its way to you. Now, I can't guarantee it's like for the long term, but definitely it will be fun and exciting and like that fling sort of energy, very romantic. And that 3rd house energy is very unstable. It's very restless. So that's why I say it's more of a fling, because 3rd house is not really like a concrete house. And so you're having this conjunction in the 3rd house. So you might meet this person on some sort of short distance travel trip, maybe through work, through social media, because 3rd house does aspect the 11th house of social media. So also I will say you can meet someone through someone. I can kind of sense with this transit that 3rd house does represent peers, coworkers, siblings. And so you might meet someone through like your sibling, for example. You might meet someone through like your cousin, for example, or kind of meet someone unexpectedly, but it's just like this very strong, romantic, maybe even lustful bond for a lot of Aries. So expect some sort of unexpected partnership. It's gonna be very unexpected, but it will be very, I would say, emotionally or romantically fulfilling for you. And the second thing I do want to talk about for you guys is that the ruler of your 5th house does rule dating, relationships. Now 5th house is a more like superficial love relationship sort of house. 7th house is like literal marriage. And so 5th house, we're really going to focus on 5th house, 7th house with this reading, not really any other part of your chart. But when it comes to 5th house, your 5th house is ruled by the sun. So where is the sun right now? It's sitting in your 4th house, then it's going to go to your 5th house in a few days, so on August 16th. And for the bulk of August and latter half of September, or early part of September, I mean, you will definitely be attracting a lot of admirers. I definitely see Aries, you attracting people just really easily, really quickly. People are just really magnetized towards you. And so 5th house does rule the sense of magnetism. And when we do have 5th house placements in our charts, you can be someone who is charismatic, magnetic, very charming, etc. So having sun, your 5th house ruler, going to the 5th house in August, definitely you're going to feel a lot more magnetic, more charming, more attractive, and just a lot more willing to, I would say, put yourself out there when it comes to dating. I definitely see dating being huge for you in August and September. And I will emphasize, going back to that Venus for a second, I do feel for some of you guys, this can result in a like long-term partnership with your 7th house ruler conjunct the North Node, the point of fate. I can see it manifesting later on as a serious partnership, but right now I see this very superficial dating energy. And usually when you date, right, you kind of gather sort of the people you're dating, and then you choose from that pile or choose from those options. And then one of them might turn serious or not. So I kind of see that beginning stage of maybe choosing a partner in August and September, but more so this is like the courting energy. This is like the dating phase. This is the texts, FaceTimes, maybe dating in real life. But this is definitely like that romantic honeymoon energy before the serious dating starts. So for Aries, I definitely feel like this is like cuffing season energy for you. So if you are single, I definitely feel like Aries will be in a partnership by like September or October. If you're dating already, then just expect your dating life to be more amplified, your relationship to be more, I would say, have a lot more fun with your partner. Go on adventures with them, go dating, go on dates with them. 3rd house is activated, short distance travel. And then your 5th house is activated. That's the house of pleasure and romance, movies, entertainment, etc. So if you have a partner, your dating life will be magnified. And then if you don't have a partner, expect to have a lot of admirers, a lot of options. Definitely Aries will have a lot of options, and expect to meet someone that is destined for you, that is fated for you. And you might not see the outcome of this relationship right now, but it might blossom into something later in the fall. So just kind of keep your eyes out. So expect a lot of romantic energy, expect to feel a lot more charismatic, charming, flirty. This flirty energy is really magnified for you. This energy of flings is magnified and partnership is magnified. So if you guys missed your August predictions, I'll have those posted below. And you guys can follow me on Instagram for more astrology content, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Hey Leo, so let's get into your love reading. So we're going to talk about what is happening next in your love life, whether you'll be in a partnership, if you're already in a partnership, how that's going to go for you. We're really going to talk about this love aspect of your chart and in your life. And so with that being said, I already did your August predictions, so I'll link those down below. In that video I didn't talk about love, and now in this video I'm talking like strictly about love. So this is for Sidereal Leo risings or Sidereal Leo moons. So let's just get into it. Now in this reading, I'm going to focus on your 7th house and your 5th house. So 7th house is the house of partnerships, marriage even. It's a more serious relationship house. And then 5th house is the house of dating. That's more so like superficial relationships. So we're going to take a look at those houses and the transits that are going on there and the rulers of those houses. So let's start off with your 7th house. So this is really interesting because your 7th house in your chart, if you're a Leo rising, is Aquarius. And if you're a Leo moon, Aquarius is the 7th sign away from you. So either way, that 7th house aspect is impactful on your chart. And so with your 7th house in Aquarius, this means that Saturn rules your 7th house. So where is Saturn right now? It is in your 6th house. So for Leos in your love life right now, I feel like you are closing out certain karmic contracts with people. I feel like with Leos, considering like the energy of your chart right now, you're kind of being prepped for a more significant relationship later on. And when I say later on, I mean like fall, October, September. And with Saturn, especially being in the 6th house is the house of battles. It's the house of disagreements with people and secret enemies or hidden enemies. And so when it comes to your 7th house ruler being in the 6th house, I see that you might have some, I would say, kind of disagreements with your partner if you're already in a partnership. And if you're not in a partnership yet, it's kind of that energy of being single, but like being single with a purpose. And so with Saturn being in your 6th house and Saturn being your 7th house ruler, I sense this almost like indifference towards relationships. I feel like in your chart, Leo, you're really focusing on yourself and you're focusing on your own journey. 6th house is the house of work, and then Saturn represents doing hard work. So I feel like a lot of you guys are doing the hard work needed to cleanse out those karmic contracts. I really get this karmic theme from your love life in the future months, and especially like in this moment, because this planet of Saturn does represent karma, and it's in your 6th house, and that's the house of opposition and battles and enemies and stuff. So definitely I feel like a lot of you guys can be indifferent to relationships and really just working really hard on yourself right now. It is your season, so you definitely are doing that necessary healing that is needed before a partnership. I feel like you're doing all of that shadow work, that cleansing. You have the sun in your 12th house right now. and you have the 5th house activated as well, but we'll get to 5th house in a second. But with all this 12th house, 6th house energy activated for you, it is the axis of healing and spiritual evolution. So I feel like you're really working on that spiritual evolution. And some of you guys, definitely, since you have the 12th house activated, which is the house of dreams, you can be almost meeting your future partner or soulmate in your dream. Usually before we manifest a really significant partner in the physical realm, we meet that person in the astral realm or in our dreams. And even if you're not consciously aware of it, you do energetically match with that person on the spiritual plane before it can happen in the physical sense. And that's usually for significant partnerships, for like soulmate, twin flame sort of partnerships. So definitely I feel like Leo, in the latter months, maybe like September, October, even late August for some people, you can be meeting a really significant person. But right now in this moment and in the bulk of August, you're doing that cleansing work, that clearing work, that tying of loose ends sort of work before you meet that person. And I feel like there's a lot going on for you, Leo, in the astral realm, in the spiritual realm. You are potentially having dreams about your future partner, having dreams about romance, or even kind of just energetically connecting with that person first. And then it will manifest in the physical realm shortly. But first you're doing like that clearing, cleansing work. And I sense a lot of you guys being in that sort of like almost like isolated space where you are focused on yourself. You're a little bit indifferent to love if you are single. And then for those of you in partnerships, some of you guys might be going through disagreements with your partner or just kind of not seeing eye to eye. I feel like for a lot of Leos in partnerships, there's this energy where it's like you're going a certain place on your timeline. And since we're having a lot of shifts in society right now, there's a lot of shifting of timelines and new timelines are starting. And for a lot of you guys, you are going forward on this timeline and your current partner isn't really on that same timeline. So for some of you guys, you might split up, but I feel like so strongly for so many Leos, you are being prepared for a very significant partnership. And if you don't get anything from this reading, the message is that you're being prepared for something really significant, something really powerful. But first you have to really clean out the closet, clean out everything before you accept something new. And for some of you guys in a partnership, that person you're with right now isn't aligned with your newer, higher timeline. And so cleansing, healing is definitely magnified with your love life, with all the 6th house, 12th house energy in your chart. And then 5th house energy is also activated for you just because you do have your 5th house ruler, which is Sagittarius, and the ruler of Sagittarius is Jupiter. It's in your 5th house right now. So I feel like superficial dating is definitely in the cards for you. And I feel like there's something more concrete coming your way. But when it comes to this Jupiter energy in your 5th house, you can expect to feel really in this moment or in this energy of tending to your own inner child, tending to your own pleasures, your own enjoyment. I feel like Leo's chart right now is really focused on this theme of enjoyment and really focused on your own self-love journey. And when you love yourself, you can manifest someone who loves you just as much. And that's really how you manifest that ultimate partnership, is when you love yourself first. So I see a lot of self-love for you. And you have Venus conjunct the North Node in your 11th house as well. So Venus is that planet of love. And the North Node is that planet that represents destiny and fate. 11th house is the house of internet and social media. So you might be kind of online dating for some Leos, or reconnecting with old partners online. Maybe you get a lot of texts or messages from old lovers from the past. There's this really karmic energy, like I said, in your chart when it comes to August and as we talk right now in this present moment. And a lot of that might manifest through the internet because your 11th house is activated with Venus and the North Node. And North Node is that planet that represents destiny as well. So maybe some people from the past might hit you up. Maybe some people that want to reconcile with you might hit you up on the internet. Other than that, though, I really feel like Leos are really focused on themselves, their own inner love, their own inner journey. There's this really emphasized sense of spiritual journeys for you and being prepared for a significant partnership coming your way. And if you're not in a significant partnership now, you might be on the tail end of one partnership and then moving into a whole new one. And Spirit is really prepping you for that new partnership. So that is really exciting. And like I mentioned, I have the August predictions posted on my channel. So if you missed them, I'll link them down below. And then I'll see you Leos in my next video. Hey Sagittarius, so let's get into your reading, and we're gonna talk about your love life and specifically what's coming for you next in love, in terms of partnerships. And for those that are already in partnerships, we're going to talk about that as well. And so I already posted the August predictions on my channel. I'll link them down below. In that video, I really talk about the general prediction, and I don't talk about love in that video. So this video is going to be exclusively about your love life. So this is for Sagittarius rising or moon, and it's using Sidereal astrology as well. So you can watch it for Sag moon or Sag rising. So let's just get into it. Definitely you have some exciting things going on in your chart, Sagittarius, which I kind of touched on in the August predictions, but I wanted to wait until this video to really get into your love life more in depth. So when it comes to your love life, we can always look at your 7th house and your 5th house. So in terms of transits and predictions, you can look at your 7th house ruler, 5th house ruler to see what's going on in terms of your love life. 7th house is the house of partnerships, marriage, and then 5th house is the house of dating. So 5th house is more like superficial dating, and then 7th house is more like marriage, serious long-term partnerships. So let's talk about this 7th house really quickly, because it's really exciting because you have Venus transiting your 7th house right now. And not only Venus, but Venus conjunct the North Node in your 7th house. So North Node is the point and planet that represents destiny, it represents fate. And then Venus is obviously about partnership. And so in August, I definitely see a lot of you guys getting into a very significant partnership. I feel like I mentioned this a little bit in your August prediction. You guys can let me know in the comments if I did, but engagement is definitely in the transits for you, in the stars for you. Marriage for some Sagittarius, and especially like Sag rising. This can be Sag moon as well, but especially Sag rising because you have Venus directly in your 7th house. And this is so significant because North Node is that energy of destiny, of fate. With North Node, you can't really control what happens when it does influence a certain house, if that makes sense. And since it's influencing your 7th house and Venus as well, there's this energy where it's like you will get into a partnership, but it might be unexpected, it might be fated and destined, but it's something you could have never manifested. It's something that you couldn't control the outcome of. It's something that spirit gives you, that God gives you, that's really just destined to happen in your life. So a lot of you guys will be getting into destined partnerships, soulmate partnerships, soul contracts being signed, definitely even like twin flame for some people. There's this energy of really significant partnerships manifesting for Sagittarius. And for some of you guys, this might be someone from your past because North Node does kind of carry like that karmic energy to it. So it can be a reconciliation for some people, but for a lot of you guys, I feel like it's new for some reason. I feel like it's someone you didn't expect, but just know it is very fated, it is very destined, and it's something that you truly do desire. North Node does rule desires. And I know for you as a Sag rising, Sag moon, you're someone who's very independent, someone who doesn't want to be tied down. I feel like with Sagittarius, you often don't want to be too tied down with a partnership. You often, I feel like Sagittarius don't even really focus that much on partnerships. It's not like you're a super like lovesick sort of person, but this is definitely like lovesick sort of energy, but like in a good way, where it's like you are focused on partnerships, where you do desire it, where it's like almost like you energetically, something in your being just feels so gravitated to be with somebody else. So definitely you're going to be feeling that in August, September, and expect for a relationship to manifest for you in those months, especially in August. And it's going to be really significant, powerful, and destined. And 7th house is the house of serious partnerships, long-term partnerships, marriage, engagement, etc. So for a lot of Sages, you can expect that in your life. So that brings me into the 5th house. Now, like I said, 5th house is that superficial dating energy, that romantic energy, that flirting energy. 7th house is more serious and really about that energy of partnerships, marriage, etc. And so your 5th house is ruled by Mars. 5th house for you is in the sign of Aries. So let's look at where Mars is. So right now Mars is in your 4th house, and it's going to be going into your 5th house. So I talked about that 5th house Mars transit in the August prediction, but I feel like in August, with this 4th house Mars activated and with it going into your 5th house, I feel like this manifests as a strong urge to settle down. And I feel like this is so like unique for Sagittarius because you're like the last person who wants to be like tied down, or the last person who wants to be or feel like they are tied down to something. And you're the type to, I feel like a lot of Sagittarius kind of like run from partnerships like almost unconsciously, but that's another video. As it comes to this energy manifesting for you in August and September and the fall months, definitely you want to settle down. You have this strong urge, strong desire for partnerships, this strong desire to almost like start a family for some people, or the strong urge to have a child. I think I mentioned that in the August prediction, but I will mention it now that pregnancy is definitely magnified for a lot of Sagittarius in the next several months, because you do have Mars in your 5th house that represents pregnancy and children. So some of you guys might even have children in the next several months. I can see like marriage happening for some people, engagement happening, and then children happening shortly after that in this like latter half of 2020. So that's definitely in the cards for you. And if you are already in a partnership, you can expect that partnership to be taken to the next level. So taken to marriage, engagement, serious long-term dating. You can expect it to be taken to a level where it's like you're more romantically involved, you're more involved and engaged with that person on a soul level, on a very spiritual level. So I definitely see this energy of spiritual bonding with your partner. There's not really like superficial energy here. I feel like this is like very significant partnership for Sagittarius. And with this 5th house energy, I will emphasize this is really about romance as well. This energy of being spoiled by your partner, this energy of you spoiling your partner, this energy of just like being purely in love. 5th house is that energy of just pure love, that energy of pure happiness, that energy of pure pleasure. So there's just kind of like blissful energy for you, blissful energy as it pertains to romance, dating. And I feel like the predictions here are definitely serious partnerships for single Sagittarius, marriage for Sagittarius already in partnerships, children for people in partnerships, children for people not in partnerships yet. So there's this energy of children, dating, marriage, the whole 9, right? So that's really exciting. And I'll link down below your August prediction if you missed it, down in the comments and in the description box. And so with that being said, I will see you guys in my next video. Hey Taurus, so let's get into your reading, and we're going to talk about your love life. And specifically, we're going to talk about what's coming next in your love life, especially if you're single, and also if you're already in a partnership. So I already did the August predictions on my channel. I'll link those down below if you missed them. In those predictions, I really talk about like your general life, like love, money, career, etc. But in this video, we're exclusively talking about your love life and what's coming next in your love life, and especially in August and kind of beginning into September as well. This reading is sort of timeless, but it really considers August energies and September energies too. So let's just get into it. So with that being said, this video is for Taurus rising or Taurus moon. So you can watch it for your moon sign or your rising sign. And this is for sidereal astrology as well. So let's just get into it. So when it comes to your love life, we can look at your 7th house and your 5th house. So I'll be focusing mostly on those 2 houses, the rulers of those houses, and what's going on in your chart based on those planets ruling those houses, etc. And so your 7th house is in Scorpio, your 5th house is in Virgo. So we're going to focus on that Scorpio energy, Virgo energy, Mars energy, Mercury energy. So with that being said, let's start off with your 7th house. Now, when it comes to 7th house, it's all about partnership, marriage. 7th house carries this energy of serious dating, this energy of long-term partnerships, whereas 5th house is more superficial dating. It's more like flirtiness, not super concrete relationships. So we'll talk about 5th house in a second, but let's talk about 7th house first. So when it comes to 7th house energy, we can look at Mars. So your 7th house is in Scorpio, especially if you're a Taurus rising watching this. So when it comes to this Mars energy, now Mars is sitting in your 11th house right now, but it's going to be going into your 12th house very soon on August 16th. And so for you, Taurus, having your 7th house ruler kind of trickle into your 12th house in August, I feel like for a certain bulk of you guys, you might meet a very significant soulmate, a significant partnership that isn't really superficial at all. 12th house is that house that represents spirituality, it represents our inner self. 12th house is kind of like that house that represents everything we can't see in the physical world, if that makes sense. And so for a lot of you guys, this can manifest as a soulmate partnership. Another way this can manifest is attracting someone from your past, or some sort of reconciliation, or some sort of ignition of a karmic partnership. 12th house is kind of like this house that carries a very karmic energy to it. So to have your 7th house ruler in the 12th house, there's this very karmic energy of attracting someone who is a karmic partner for you, someone who is kind of like destined for you in a sense, and that was kind of like written in your soul contract, and you guys are supposed to meet and be in a relationship again. And for some of you guys, you will have the option to reject that. I feel like with 12th house energy, it carries this energy of wanting to really work on yourself, wanting to be alone. And since you're going to have Mars in your 12th house for the rest of 2020, and that is your 7th house ruler, you might have this inclination to want to really focus on yourself, focus on your own self-work. For a lot of people, I feel like, actually for the bulk of Taurus, I feel like you will have this urge to want to really focus on yourself, focus on your own brand, focus on your own identity. You are having the North Node go to your first house in September as well. So I see this kind of emphasized sense of focusing on yourself, to be honest. I feel like for like 60% of Taurus, you will be focused on yourself and not really worried about partnerships. And I feel strongly for a lot of Taurus, you will be attracting someone, if you do attract anyone, if you don't want to be single. I feel like a lot of you guys will want to be single, but if you do attract someone, they are going to be a reflection of your subconscious. So that can go a lot of ways for people. 12th house does represent subconscious. And so when you do have the 7th house ruler there, I feel like you'll attract someone that mirrors your inner self, if that makes sense. It won't mirror your like present self, like your ego self, but like your inner self. So if you're someone who has done like your shadow work, you've done like your healing and all that kind of stuff associated with 12th house, then you will attract someone that is your authentic mirror, right? But if you haven't done your shadow work, or if you haven't done like all of those 12th house karmic things, then you will attract someone that is a mirror of your subconscious, but not really the version of a partner that you truly want, because our subconscious represents everything we hide and stifle. So some of you guys will attract a true authentic partner if your subconscious is clean, clear, and like healed, but some of you guys will attract a very strong karmic partner that is not really meant to be like your true love, but more so meant to be like mirror to you and show you what you haven't worked on, what you haven't looked at within yourself, what part of your shadow you haven't touched. A lot of times with karmic partnerships, it's just someone, like the physical manifestation of someone showing us our own shadow. It's showing us to work on ourselves. So some of you guys will attract that true authentic soulmate if you've done your shadow work, if you're healed, etc., if your subconscious baggage is cleared. And then if your subconscious baggage isn't cleared, if your shadow work isn't done, you're just going to attract someone who's a karmic partner, aka someone who's just going to show you what your baggage is and what your shadow is. So that can manifest really two split ways for a lot of Taurus. And for the other bulk of you guys, this can manifest as just wanting to be single, wanting to be alone, and really working on yourself before you have that significant partnership. With 12th house energy, I feel like it's the energy of being prepped for a partnership, if that makes sense. So since your 7th house ruler is going to be there, you're being prepped for something significant if you don't feel like you're ready to be in that significant partnership now. And for a lot of you guys, overall, I see you really working on yourself the rest of the year. And that brings me to your 5th house energy. So 5th house energy is more like superficial dating. We can see like what our kind of superficial dating life will look like from the 5th house. And so your 5th house is in Virgo. That means it's ruled by Mercury. So let's see what Mercury is doing in your chart. So Mercury is in your 3rd house right now. So there's definitely like that amplify energy of kind of superficial connections or just like flirting, especially like online dating. 3rd house is 11th from the 5th house. So 11 represents Aquarius and 11th house represents social media. So you guys might do a lot of social media dating. I see like a lot of like DMing and like just chatting, but I don't see anything really concrete for Taurus. Like, I won't lie, I feel like it's just really you focusing on yourself, and if it's anything romantic, it's really like banter. It's more so entertaining. It's not really like the most significant partnership ever. I feel like a lot of you guys are either being prepped for a partnership through wanting to be single right now, or a lot of you guys might attract that true soulmate, but only if you really have done that shadow work. And then I will touch on for you guys that the North Node is conjunct Venus right now in your chart, or in everyone's chart. So your Venus conjunct North Node transit is happening in your 2nd house. So when it comes to this energy, again, there's this theme of like self-love, self-worth, self period, like just working on yourself. So North Node represents destiny, Venus represents partnership, it represents self-worth. And so to have your 1st house ruler Venus conjunct the North Node in the 2nd house, I feel like you're really focused on your own self-worth, really building yourself up. I feel like before you attract something significant, before you attract that soulmate, that marriage partner, you really have to build yourself up and work on that shadow work. So I see that narrative really manifesting for a lot of Taurus, where you are really focusing on yourself, building up your self-worth, doing those like affirmations, pampering yourself, treating yourself, really working on your shadow. And if there's any romance, I do see it manifesting more so like online or kind of superficially, or just in social dynamics where it's like maybe you date someone, go on a date with someone that you met through a friend, but I don't see anything super concrete at this moment for Taurus, or even in August. I see you guys really working on yourselves. And then for a really small percentage of you guys, you will attract that soulmate. but only if the shadow work is done. So with that being said, that's what your love life is looking like right now. And so if you missed your August prediction, I have that posted and I will link it down below. And I'll see you, Taurus, in my next video. Hey Virgo, so let's get into your reading. Now in this reading, we're going to be talking about your love life and specifically what's to come in your love life. If you're single, if you're in a relationship, what is happening next. So this reading is for August and September as well. And then also if I see something for like the later months, I'll mention it too. So with that being said, I already have the August predictions on my channel already, so I'll link those down below if you missed it. And this video is going to be exclusively about your love life. So let's just get into it. So you can watch this for your rising sign or your moon sign. So Sidereal Virgo rising or Sidereal Virgo moons. This will be relevant for. So when it comes to love, when it comes to how we can even predict love in our charts, we can look at the 7th house and the 5th house. So in this reading, I'm really going to focus on your 7th house, which is in Pisces, and your 5th house, which is in Capricorn. And Jupiter rules Pisces, and then Saturn rules Capricorn. So we're going to focus on those planets specifically in your chart for this reading. So let's just get into it. But before we get into it, comment down below what your Venus sign is. I'm going to be talking about Venus a little bit in this reading. So tell me down below what your Venus sign is and then what house Venus is in for you. So let's just get into this 7th house energy right off the bat. So the 7th house energy for you right now, you have Mars sitting in your 7th house, but on August 16th, Mars actually goes into your 8th house. So we kind of talked about that in the August prediction, but when it comes to your 7th house, Jupiter rules your 7th house, especially if you're a Virgo rising. So what is Jupiter doing in your chart right now? So your 7th house ruler is a part of that Pluto-Saturn conjunction. And so there's a lot of transformation going on in your love life right now. There's a lot of karmic transformation. There's this theme, I feel like, for Virgo risings and moons where it's like a lot of purging is going on when it comes to partnerships for you. You have Jupiter conjunct Pluto. It's sitting right next to Pluto, and Pluto is about transformation. It's about regeneration. It's about purging things out. So there's a lot of karmic purging for you in your partnerships. You might be able to feel that in your love life right now. And with Jupiter, your 7th house ruler, sitting in the 4th house, I feel like you have this, I feel like we talked about this for some reason in like one of my previous videos, but you have this perception on love where it's like you want to build for the long term. You want to find someone who fits into your long-term plan. I feel like a lot of Virgos right now are focused on like your long-term plan. You're focused on your career. You're focused on where you're going in the future. And so when it comes to love, especially like in August, you're going to be contemplating like who is meant for this ride with me, who's meant for this lifetime ride I'm going on, who's meant to align with my purpose, who aligns with my goals. And so you're really thinking about the long term when it comes to partnerships. Also, this is really magnified because your 7th house ruler, Jupiter, is sitting 10 spaces or 10 houses away from the 7th house. So 10 is that house of career, 10 represents the 10th house. And so definitely 10th house is all about longevity. It's about long-term goals. So for a lot of Virgos, I see you manifesting someone that will match for you. That's a perfect match for you for your long-term goals. This isn't like something that's like, okay, I just want to date someone for the fall. I just want a summer fling. I just want a 1-year relationship. This is a very significant like partnership that's coming your way that is better for the long term, if that makes sense. But first, you do have to clear things out. You have to transform things. And it's almost like you don't have to do anything because Jupiter conjunct Pluto, it's such a strong energy by itself that it kind of clears things out of our life for us. We're seeing that on a mass scale in society where a lot of things are being transformed, a lot of karma is being delivered, a lot of regeneration is happening, etc. And so there's a lot of healing, regeneration also happening in your specific love life. Your 7th house ruler is a part of that Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn conjunction. So your love life might feel like it's being torn down right now, but then it's being rebuilt, especially like in, I would say, maybe Virgo season, especially like October and fall. You can really expect that serious long-term partnership. For marriage, for some of you guys, marriage might be an option, and but not at this moment. I see kind of like that regeneration process happening now, that purging process happening now, and that healing and regeneration is being influenced and administered by God, by spirit in general. It's not really something you really have to actively do. It's not like you have to clean house, but I feel like spirit is going to clean house for you essentially when it comes to your love life. So that's what's happening right now when it comes to long-term partnerships, is that I feel like you're being prepared for something long-term, and definitely it will manifest. I will feel like it'll manifest like September-ish or late August, maybe not at this moment. And then if you're in a partnership right now, you guys will probably go under some sort of healing together, purging together, or restructuring your partnership. When it comes to this shift that's happening in September, which I will be doing a video about, it's really going to put a lot of us on a new timeline. So when you go on a new timeline, some people that you're with right now won't align with that. So if you're someone that's in a partnership right now and you kind of feel like intuitively it may or may not work out, expect that when things shift really significantly in September, they might not make it into that new timeline with you, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of like timeline shifting in terms of partnership for you, and you're going to attract someone that's great for your long-term like lifestyle. But at this moment, if you're single, you're going to attract that person soon, like in the fall months. And then if you're in a partnership now, that may or may not align with your new timeline, if that makes sense. So it's really up to you and your decision when it comes to your own partnership, if you're in one right now. So that brings me to the 5th house. So the 5th house for you, it's in Capricorn, and so it's ruled by Saturn. And so you're having your 5th house ruler, again, a part of that Jupiter-Saturn Pluto conjunction, the conjunction that is affecting us so strongly right now. And so again, there's that theme of restructuring, rebuilding your love life, really setting you up for success when it comes to love and partnerships for the long term. And so if you feel like you don't have a partnership right now, if you feel like, okay, where's my partner at? They're coming definitely, like, especially when the shift happens. But I feel like this, like, spirit, God is kind of setting that stage or setting the foundation for a successful partnership to happen. I feel like for Virgo, your love life, if we can visualize it in a metaphor, it's almost like building a house right now. And so when it comes to this house, I feel like the house has to be demolished first, then the foundation has to be built, and then the new house is built. So that's kind of happening for you right now. For some of you guys, the house is being demolished, and then for some of you guys, that foundation is being set. So either way, you guys are kind of going through that resetting process when it comes to love. And so that brings me to Venus. So when it comes to Venus in your chart, it is conjunct the North Node right now. So having this Venus, this planet of partnerships, conjunct the planet of destiny and fate, you guys are going to get into a destined partnership or fated partnership for a lot of you guys. That will lead to a long-term relationship or even lead to marriage for some. So when it comes to that house being built, for a lot of you guys, you're on kind of like different parts of that journey or different stages of that house being built. Some of you guys are seeing the house being burnt down, you're seeing the foundation being set, but either way, it's happening for Virgos where it's like a resetting of your relationship life. So a lot of you guys might meet that person soon. I feel like for a bulk of Virgos, you will meet that long-term partner, marriage-worthy partner in August, but for a lot of you guys, it might happen in Virgo season. So you can expect that to really pop off in Virgo season, like September, early October. But as for right now, your love life is really being restructured, transformed, but like in the best way possible. So when it comes to August, I have your August predictions listed already on my channel. So if you missed them, I'll link them down below. And thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you Virgos in my next one. Hey Capricorn, so let's get into your reading. So in this reading, we're going to be talking about your love life and specifically what's going to be happening next in your love life if you're single, if you're in a partnership. So in this reading, we're exclusively looking at love life. And in my previous video, I did the August predictions, which focused on your career, social life, etc. I'll link that down below if you missed it. But we're really going to focus on your love life and what's coming next for you in your partnership aspect of your life. So this is for Capricorn rising or Capricorn moon, and I'm doing sidereal astrology. So this can resonate for Cap risings or Cap moons. So we'll start off by talking about your 7th house. Then we'll talk about the 5th house, and we'll also talk about Venus. So speaking of Venus, before we get into it, tell me down below what your Venus sign is. So what sign is your Venus in, and also what house is it in? Because we're going to get into Venus later, but we're going to start off with 7th house first. So when it comes to your chart, 7th house, or when it comes to any chart, 7th house rules long-term partnerships, it rules marriage, it rules engagement. It's more about serious partnerships, and then the 5th house is about superficial dating. It's about pleasure and romantic flings even. So we'll get into 5th house in a second, but we'll talk about 7th house first. So when it comes to 7th house, your 7th house is ruled by Cancer. And what rules Cancer? The moon. So your chart is kind of unique because your 7th house ruler is the moon, and that changes every day. So we'll look at the moon right now. So the moon is sitting in your 2nd house. And when it comes to the moon being your 7th house ruler, you might experience in your life kind of changing relationships quite often, or there's kind of instability with your relationships because the moon is a very fluctuating energy. So oftentimes you can find in your life, in general, your relationships are quite fluctuating. But when it comes to partnerships in the next several months, what I will say that is really significant in your chart right now, Capricorn, is that you're having your first house ruler, Saturn, in your first house right now. And you're having your first house ruler, Saturn, as a part of that Pluto-Jupiter conjunction. So you're having that cluster of planets right on your ascendant. And then in September, when the huge nodal shift happens, the nodes shift into your 5th and 11th house axis. So in September, your first house planets, so like Saturn and Jupiter and Pluto, are gonna kind of aspect the north node in your 5th house. And the 5th house is the house of dating, it is the house of romance. And since you have that concrete energy of Saturn aspecting the north node, I feel like there might be a destined partnership that will manifest for you in September. So when that huge shift happens into your 5th house energy is about dating, it is about romance. And since your 7th house is ruled by the moon, and that is kind of like not concrete enough to look at for a prediction, I feel like what's more concrete is the fact that Saturn, the planet of structure, the planet of longevity, is aspecting the north node, the planet of destiny and fate. And it's happening between your 1st and 5th house. So 5th house is about dating, romance. So I feel like there will be a significant partnership that will manifest for you when that nodal shift happens, either before or after, but really kind of after because it's happening in September. And I'll be doing a separate video about the nodal shift because it is really huge. But I feel like when it comes to relationships for you, there will be something significant manifesting in your life, especially in September. So in August, I feel like you're kind of being prepared for it, so to speak, especially with all of that energy on your ascendant. Ascendant and first house energy is about working on yourself. So you might be really working on yourself right now and focusing on your own agenda and not really focusing too much on partnerships, but expect that in September, something really significant will happen in terms of partnership for you. And that brings you to that 5th house energy. So your 5th house is ruled by Venus. And so I asked about Venus earlier, but Venus right now, it's sitting in your 6th house and it's conjunct the north node. So 6th house is that energy of work. It is that energy of putting effort into things. And so when you have Venus there, you're really focused on working on your romantic partnerships, working on work in general, not really focusing on partnerships too much, but really working on the kind of logistical aspects of your life. But since it's conjunct the north node, the planet of fate, like I mentioned, there is this energy of you working on a karmic partnership. I see for a huge chunk of Capricorns, Cap risings especially, you focusing on making some sort of karmic connection work. I feel like for a chunk of you guys, you are working on some sort of karmic partnership or trying to make some sort of conflict work within the partnership you're in. So for a chunk of you guys, you might be going through ups and downs right now in your partnership, but that's because it might be fading out and you might be being prepared for a new karmic or new destined partnership in September, October, fall, etc. And for the other chunk of you guys that are single, you can really expect for that new partnership to manifest, especially in September, October. And it's going to be really significant and something that you really desire, something that really brings you a lot of pleasure. Your 5th house is going to be activated in September really strongly. And so you might be gifted with a relationship that brings you a lot of romance, that brings a lot of satisfaction. 5th house is that house that represents pleasure and satisfaction and just really like blissful romance. So in September, you guys can mark that on your calendars. Definitely that might be a time space for you where you guys do attract a certain partnership. But right now, I feel like you're really working on yourself and kind of closing out those old karmic timelines. And I really feel like in your chart right now, there's this theme of like tying up loose ends or kind of getting rid of karmic baggage, and then you're being prepared for something more significant, more powerful, more influential, and satisfactory in September, October. So we'll get into the shifts, the nodal shift, in another video on my channel. Since it's happening in September, I'll be doing a separate video on that. But as it stands right now, I feel like you're really working on yourself and you're really being prepared for something really significant coming in September, something really exciting that really will inject a lot of love in your life and maybe even pregnancy for some people. But we'll talk about that in the nodal shift prediction video. And as for right now, I feel like you guys are really focused on your work life and really focused on being the best version of yourself. So with that being said, I posted the August predictions on my channel. So if you missed them, I'll link them down below. And thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you Capricorns in my next video. Hey Gemini, so let's get into your reading. So we're going to be talking about your love life in this prediction reading and what's to come in your love life if you're single and if you're in a relationship as well. So in my previous video, I did the August predictions where I talked about your month of August and what's happening for you in terms of career, social life, etc. And I'll link that down below if you missed it. But in this video, I'm exclusively focusing on your love life and what's to come. So this is basically for like August, a little bit in September, and whatever I just see while I'm reading your chart, I'll mention it. So basically like the next few months is going to be really relevant for this reading. So let's just get into it. So this is for Gemini risings or moons. So if you're a sidereal Gemini rising, sidereal Gemini moon, this is using sidereal astrology. So moon or rising does apply to this video. So when it comes to your love life, we're going to look at two key places in your chart. So we're going to look at your 7th house, which is the house of partnerships. And for you, that's in the sign of Sagittarius. And then we're going to look at the 5th house. So that's the house of dating, romance, pleasure, etc. And for you, that's in the sign of Libra. And so 5th house is more like superficial dating and flirting and stuff. And then 7th house is more like long-term partnerships, long-term relationships. And so we're going to look at both of those houses, and then we'll take a look at Venus. And so with that being said, tell me down below what your Venus sign is and what house is your Venus in. So tell me down below in the comments. And right now we'll just get into it. So we'll start off with your 7th house. So like I said, 7th house represents marriage. It represents engagement. It represents soulmate partnerships. It represents long-term partnerships. And for you right now, you have quite a bit going on in that house because you're having Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn. Well, really Pluto and Jupiter are conjunct in your 7th house with the South Node. So right now you're tying up a lot of karmic loose ends as it pertains to partnerships. In the past 2 years, specifically since you've had the North Node in your 1st house and South Node in your 7th house, you might have broken up with a lot of people. You might have ended a lot of partnerships because South Node represents endings. It represents cutting off certain things. And so when South Node goes into the 7th house as a transit, it's kind of hard because it cuts off a lot of people out of your life, etc. But that was the past 2 years. Now you're at this point in your relationship life and your love life where you're really tying up those loose ends with people you no longer want in your space. And not just tying up loose ends, but really setting a different standard with people, setting a different boundary. You're gonna really attract someone new into your life in the next coming months, but it's not gonna be like anyone you've attracted before. It's gonna be like a whole different set of people, different kind of person, just because you have a different set of standards now. So when it comes to 7th house, for you, it is ruled by Jupiter. So you have Jupiter, your 7th house ruler, in the 7th house. And so since you have Jupiter in the 7th house right now, and especially since it's conjunct Pluto, what is Pluto all about? It's about transformation, regeneration. It's about healing and purging. So I really see this like huge purge energy for you in terms of relationships, but it's like the best kind of purge. It's like the purge of like, okay, I'm no longer dealing with this kind of person. I'm no longer dealing with this person. I'm no longer dealing with toxic people. Jupiter kind of blesses whatever house it's in at the moment. So since it's sitting there with Pluto, which is like a more malefic planet, it's kind of like beneficially healing your relationships, beneficially healing that aspect of your life. So overall, I would say that relationships for you are going over a major healing point right now. It's going over a major karmic ending sort of point. And so we're going to get into what's coming for you in the next several months when it comes to partnerships, if you're single or if you're taken. And so that brings me to the 5th house. So the 5th house, like I said, it's more like superficial dating, romance, and if it's activated, oftentimes we can see if romance comes into our life. And so for you, your 5th house is in Libra, and it's ruled by Venus. So when it comes to Venus right now, Venus is in your 1st house. And not only is Venus in your 1st house, but it's conjunct the North Node. So Venus is that planet of partnerships and dating. And then you have it conjunct the North Node, which is the planet of fate and destiny. So I feel for you, Gemini, in the next several months, and especially like in August, you might come into contact with someone who's like a karmic partner for you or like a destined partner for you. And especially at this moment, especially like in this, like in August, especially, you have this kind of urge and desire to want to engage in partnerships that actually bring you pleasure, that actually bring you happiness. 5th house energy is all about happiness and pleasure. So if you're someone who's single watching this, I feel like your dating life is really about to pick up in the next several months, just because your 5th house is going to be really activated with your 5th house ruler in the 1st house, conjunct the North Node, and then Mars is going into your 11th house. So Mars opposes the 5th house, so it's casting that aspect on the 5th house. But either way, the 5th house is really activated, and so 5th house is that house of dating and romance. And so I see this new optimistic look or outlook on love for you, this new optimistic perspective on love. I feel like you've gone through a kind of tumultuous sort of journey with like breaking up with people, toxic partnerships, especially in the past couple years because the South Node's been in your 7th house. But I feel like in August and in September, you get this new wave of energy where it's like, okay, I feel like I can love again. Okay, I feel like I can be in a relationship again. I feel like I can attract a healthy partner, a healthy partnership. I think with all this energy of Pluto and South Node in your 7th house, that's kind of like toxic energy when it comes to partnerships. But I feel like there's this new optimistic outlook you're going to take on love, and you're going to start dating and start flirting again. And I feel like at this moment right now, since Venus is conjunct your North Node, you are in the mood to kind of beautify yourself, work on your self-worth, just kind of be front and center, be in sort of like that attraction mode. I feel like that's the word for this reading, is that Gemini moons and risings are going to be in attraction mode in August and September. And I feel like by the end of the year, you might attract a more significant partnership. And right now you're really focused on that attraction mode. And then once you get past that, obviously it's more serious, but you're in that more attraction mode, flirting mode, charismatic, charming, flirting, whatever mode. So with that being said, if you missed your August predictions, I have them linked down below. And thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you Geminis in my next video. Hey Libra, so let's get into your reading. So right now we're going to talk about your love life and what's to come for you in your love life if you're single or if you're in a relationship. So we're going to get right into it. And so I already posted on my channel the August predictions. So if you missed them, I'll link it down below. In that video, I talk about the month of August and like your career, social life, etc. However, in this video, we're exclusively talking about your love life. So we're going to get into it. Now, this is for Libra rising or moon. And I am using Sidereal astrology. So Sidereal Libra rising, Sidereal Libra moon, this can resonate for. So with that being said, we'll just get right into your chart. So when it comes to predicting love and partnerships, we can really look at your 7th house and look at your 5th house. 7th house is about long-term partnerships. It's about marriage and engagement and more like serious partnerships. And then 5th house is more like superficial partnerships. It's dating, it's romance, it's flirting, etc. And we're also going to take a look at Venus too. So with that being said, tell me down below, what is your Venus sign? And then also what house is your Venus in? So right now we'll just start with your 7th house. So when it comes to your 7th house, Libra, right now your 7th house ruler, Mars, is about to enter your 7th house. So you're going to have your 7th house ruler in the 7th house. So what does this mean for you? It means that you will get into a new partnership potentially in the latter half of August or September. And so for a lot of you guys, I sense though that with this Mars energy entering your 7th house, Mars isn't completely like a positive planet. Technically, it's kind of like a malefic planet. And Mars kind of represents that friction sort of energy. So when it comes to relationships for you, I feel like in August and in September, you might be dealing with a lot of friction in partnerships. Although for some of you guys, I do feel like you will get into a significant partnership, especially within the next 6 months, because Mars stays in one house for 6 months. So you're having your 7th house ruler, Mars, in the same house for 6 months. So you will be focused on partnerships. However, I feel like it might come off to a rocky start just because Mars kind of represents that argumentative energy, that friction sort of energy. So you might kind of deal with that a little bit. I do see happening just given your chart in like August or September, but you will get into a new partnership definitely by the end of this year if you are single, and not just any partnership, but a more serious partnership. 7th house is that house of serious long-term partnerships, of engagement, of marriage. And so to have your 7th house ruler in the 7th house for like 6 months, that's definitely in the stars for you to get into a long-term relationship. And so that brings me into the 5th house. Actually, I will touch on your 7th house again. You do have Uranus sitting in your 7th house. And so that represents unexpected events. So you might get into an unexpected relationship. That's what I meant to say earlier, especially with your 7th house ruler sitting in the 7th house for the next 6 months. So unexpected relationships might be a theme for you in the next several months. And definitely a little bit of friction is kind of there too. It's not a totally smooth ride, but it is more, it might be a little bit argumentative. It might come with a little bit of tension just because Mars energy is very combative naturally. And so like I was saying with your 5th house is in the sign of Aquarius. And what is Aquarius ruled by? It's ruled by Saturn. So right now your 5th house ruler is in your 4th house. And so I feel like that carries such a karmic theme to it, where it's like instead of focusing on a lot of new partnerships or new flirtationships with fifth house energy especially, or new romances, you're really focused on tying up those loose ends with former partners. I get this really karmic theme sort of with your chart right now, where it's like you're tying up those loose ends with partners that you dated in the past, or just kind of tying up loose ends as it pertains to the type of people you date, the type of people you attract, and really looking back at your past in order to not repeat the past as you move into the future. And so speaking of future, when it comes to your Venus, so your Venus right now is conjunct the North Node, and it's in your 9th house. So Venus is that planet of partnerships. Venus is your chart ruler because you are a Libra rising. And so North Node represents destiny and fate. And so since you have Venus, the planet of partnerships, and your chart ruler conjunct the planet of fate, I definitely feel like you will be attracting a partner to you that is aligned with your destiny, aligned with your fate, and really aligned with what your new values are. I feel like you're going under this change right now in your life and in your chart. I can see it where it's like you're looking back at the past and kind of considering it and thinking about how that shapes the future. And so in order to not repeat past mistakes, you are really editing those standards you have, those boundaries you have. I feel like boundaries has been a huge word in the Libra readings in the past several months, and I feel like you are setting those boundaries needed in order to have healthy partnerships moving forward. And one thing I will touch on that's kind of special about your chart, Libra, is that the North Node will be going into your 8th house in September. So September is a huge month where the shift happens, and I will be talking about the nodal shift in a separate video, but just right now, as I can see it, with the North Node going into your 8th house really emphasizes that theme of intimacy. Your 8th house is also ruled by Venus, so intimacy is really important to you in partnerships. And starting in September, you might be beginning a new partnership that is very intimate, that is it carries the energy that is deeper than just surface level, which I feel like is very special for Libra because you guys are really charismatic and charming, and oftentimes you have a lot of options. Oftentimes you have a lot of people that like you. And so when it comes to that, I feel like it's harder to choose like those deeper connections because you have so many connections to choose from. But starting in September, you're going to choose like a really deep, intimate connection and really build something with someone, or build a really strong bond with someone. Something really concrete is happening in September for you, where it does bring this new relationship to you if you're ready for it and if you want it, where it is very much based on that fundamental theme of intimacy. And I feel like another huge word here though is karma as well. So some of you guys might be attracting a sort of like karmic soulmate for some people, but I feel like for a lot of Libras, you're going to be attracting a more intimate partner, because 8th house is the house of intimacy, and it's the house of close bonding with other people and soul connection. So definitely soul connections might be a theme for you in September, but as it stands right now, you'll be really working on closing out those old karmic themes, working on maybe even conflict with other people, conflict resolution. I feel like you as a Libra, you're somebody who's probably very skilled at conflict resolution, being the mediator. But definitely partnership will be emphasized for you for the rest of the year. It is actually very significant, and not just partnership superficially, but partnership in terms of like significant, intimate, soul level bonds. So with that being said, I have your August prediction on my channel already, so if you missed it, I'll link it down below. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you Libras in my next video. Hey Aquarius, so let's get into your reading. Now in this reading, we're going to talk about your love life, and specifically what's to come in your love life if you're single or if you're in a relationship. And we're going to take a look at your chart and see what's happening for you in the next couple months in terms of love. So with that being said, I have the August predictions posted on my channel. I'll link them down below. In those predictions, I focus more on like your general life, your career, etc. In this video, we're focusing exclusively on your love life. So with that being said, let's just get into it. Now this is for Aquarius rising and Aquarius moon. So you can watch this video for your moon sign or your rising sign, and it is for sidereal astrology. So sidereal Aquarius rising, sidereal Aquarius moon. So let's just get into this love reading for you, Aquarius. So when it comes to love and how we can predict it and see it in your chart, we can always look at the 7th and 5th house and what your 7th house ruler and 5th house ruler is doing in your chart at the moment. And then we'll also talk about Venus too. So with that being said, tell me down below what your Venus sign is and what house is your Venus in. Tell me in the comments. And let's start off with your 7th house. So for you, Aquarius, your 7th house is in Leo, and so we're approaching Leo season right now. On the 16th, Leo season officially starts. That means the ruler of your 7th house is the sun. So right now the sun is in your 6th house, and it's going to be returning to the 7th house in just a few days. And I talked about relationships for you in the August prediction, but I really want to unpack it a bit more because I just touched on it in that video. But when it comes to this 7th house energy being lit up by the sun in August, you are going to be attracting a very significant partnership to you. I feel like with your chart, Aquarius, right now, you've been really focused like on your inner journey, and you've been very introspective. You've been very focused inward. You have Saturn in your 12th house right now, so that's a very introspective sort of energy. However, in August, it's almost like your attention gets redirected to partnerships again, and redirected to a specific partnership that is a soul connection. I do see a very significant soul connection manifesting for you in August or in September, just because you have the sun in your 7th house for that period of time. And the sun is your 7th house ruler, and the sun, whenever it transits a certain house and wherever it is in your chart, it acts like a magnet. So expect to be almost very magnetic when it comes to partnerships and attract people almost in a magnetic way. And for a lot of you guys, I think I talked about this in the August predictions video, this soulmate connection that you are manifesting that is going to come into reality for you can be a reconciliation. It can be a returning of a partner from the past, but it's not in a like toxic way, but more so in a, okay, I broke up with this person at one point in time and they healed, I healed, let's try this again. I see that manifesting for a lot of Aquarius, and if it doesn't manifest that specific way for you, I do see a new partnership manifesting for you, just because your 7th house is so lit up by that Leo energy in August. And Leo energy in August, like we talked about in the August prediction, it's going to be very potent, very powerful. So even if you're someone who's like, I don't want a partnership, or I'm not thinking about that right now, by the end of August, I feel like you're going to be more so warmed up to that idea, and the stars will be aligned for you to manifest that, if that makes sense. So even if you don't want one, or you're kind of doubtful right now, it's going to manifest for you. And if you wanted to manifest it, August is definitely the time to put your intention on that. And I feel like almost for a lot of you guys, you don't even have to try. It's something that just divinely enters your life, divinely happens. It's like divine timing for you. So that's really special. And let's talk about this 5th house energy. So your 5th house is in the sign of Gemini. That means Mercury rules your 5th house. And so what is Mercury doing in your chart right now? Mercury is actually in your 6th house. So your 6th house is actually really activated right now. So when it comes to that 6th house, 12th house energy I talked about earlier, because your chart ruler Saturn's in the 12th house, you have the sun in your 6th house and then Saturn in the 12th house. You just had the full moon in your 12th house. So right now, as we speak in this moment, there's this energy of healing, this energy of karmic endings. And so before you enter a really significant relationship, you do have to really heal yourself. You have to love yourself, work on yourself. And that theme of healing yourself is really purposeful at this moment, because it's kind of preparing you for this soulmate partnership you might enter by the end of August, even September for some of you guys. And so that's kind of like that 5th house energy and how that's manifesting. It really relates back to that theme of healing, which is 6th house energy, 12th house axis, etc. And what's even more significant, get this, is that Venus is conjunct the North Node in your 5th house. So if you wanted a word for this reading, it definitely is destiny, because 5th house is about romance, is about flirting, dating, partnerships. And Venus is also the sign of partnerships and dating, and then North Node is the planet of destiny and fate. So there's definitely a fated partnership that's kind of like scheduled for you almost. I feel like this strong energy of like destined partnership, like soulmate, not just like a fling or someone that you halfway care about or someone you just date for a year. It's like literally like a significant partnership will just enter your life very soon. And I really do feel like it's a reconciliation, just because the nodes are really karmic and represent sort of like that cycle of time. And then in Leo season, there's that energy of like the past being brought back up. And so this energy of like cyclical time and the past being brought up, I feel like there's a reconciliation for a lot of you guys, but not like a toxic reconciliation, like I said, but like one that is actually purposeful and destined. And then also with Venus in your 5th house for the next month or so, and the North Node sitting there for the next month until the shift in September when it goes into your 4th house, you're really going to be focused on pleasure, dating, fun, really focused on that blissful sort of energy when it comes to love. I feel like relationships can be quite stressful, especially for you, Aquarius. However, with your 5th house so activated in August and September, I see more romantic energy, more flirty energy, more, I feel like you're in this attraction mode, so to speak, like this mode of like wanting to partner with people. So even if you're not really down for that at this moment, I feel like by the end of August, you will be more so in that mood of partnership, flirtiness, attraction mode, and definitely there's like this destined partnership that will manifest for you coming September, coming August. Some of you guys as soon as August, some of you guys in September, maybe even October, etc. But definitely it's manifesting for you quite quickly. So with that being said, I have your August prediction listed on my channel, so I'll link it down below if you guys missed it. And thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you, Aquarius, in my next one. Hey Cancer, so let's get into your reading. So in this reading, we're going to talk about your love life, and specifically what's to come in your love life. What are the major events that are going to happen in your love life in the next month, in August, as well as September. And if I look in your chart and see anything else for the rest of the year, I'll mention that as well. So in my previous video, I did the August predictions, and in that video, I talked about your general life, your career, etc. And this video is going to be solely focused on love. So I'll link that down below if you missed my previous video. So we'll just get into it now. So this is for Cancer rising or Cancer moon. You can watch this video for your moon sign or your rising sign. So this is also for sidereal astrology. So sidereal Cancer rising, sidereal Cancer moons. With that being said, in order to see the love trends for your life in the next couple months, we can look at your 7th house, what's happening there, as well as your 5th house, what's happening there, and then we can look at Venus as well. So speaking of Venus, tell me down below, what is your Venus sign? And then also, what house is your Venus in? So that's going to matter later, but first, right now, we'll get into your 7th house. So your 7th house is in the sign of Capricorn, especially if you're a Cancer rising. And with your 7th house in the sign of Capricorn, that means Saturn rules your 7th house. So right now, we're going to take a look at Saturn and see what it's doing and see how that's impacting your partnership life. And so I will say that 7th house is more so about long-term partnerships. It's about marriage, engagement. It's a more serious relationship house. And then 5th house, as we'll touch on later, is more so about flirting, dating, superficial partnerships. So with your 7th house right now, as it stands, you have Saturn in your 7th house. So you have your 7th house ruler, Saturn, in the 7th house. So partnerships are definitely magnified for you. But what I will say about your chart right now that's really unique is that you have the Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter conjunction that's really impacting everyone right now. You're having that conjunction on your 7th house cusp. So you're having Saturn in your 7th house directly. You have Pluto and Jupiter just on the cusp of your 7th house. So you're going through a lot of transformation with your partnerships. You're going through a lot of karmic endings, a lot of closing out of timelines. I've been talking about this in the other readings, and I feel like it's a really prevalent theme in all the zodiac signs' lives, where in September, there's a huge shift happening. So this huge shift that is happening represents certain timelines continuing and certain timelines ending. So I feel like for Cancer, you're going to feel this very strongly in the relationship aspect of your life, where a lot of karmic partnerships will end and a lot of new ones will begin. And for those of you in a relationship right now, it's almost like if you're on a certain trajectory, on a certain timeline to go to a new sort of like dimension with your life, or a new dynamic with your life, some people that you're in a relationship with now won't align with that. So during the shift, a lot of you guys will go this way, and maybe the people you're with right now will go that way. But either way, Saturn has this energy where it does add necessary structure to the house it's in. It's really about what is necessary, what is purposeful, what is for the long term. So since you have that Saturnian energy so strongly in your 7th house right now, and just naturally in your chart, it's like going forward, you'll be choosing a partner and attracting a partner who is for you, but for the long term. So I feel like there's this longevity aspect for you that's really magnified in your partnership life, where you will be attracting someone where it's like they will be your future husband, your future wife, somebody who's your long-term partner, not just like a superficial person, but like a long-term person. And at this moment, though, with Pluto kind of on that cusp of your 7th house, you can really be feeling that sense of purging people from your life, or that sense of cleaning out old karmic baggage from your relationships, or dealing with old karmic traumas. Pluto is that energy of karma and trauma and just transformation overall. So your love life, I feel like it's getting this huge transformation, but it's getting a boost from Saturn, which is already your 7th house ruler, where Saturn really wants to put things in order and structure things and make things sustainable for the long term. So there is this sustainable partnership sort of like on the horizon for you, and I really see it really manifesting by September. So maybe not in August for some people, but definitely by the shift that's happening in September, it might happen then. And that leads me to touch on the North Node really quickly. So the North Node will be going into your 11th house, and I'll be doing a whole separate video about the huge shift of the North Node going into Taurus and South Node going to Scorpio. But with the North Node, it is that point of destiny. It is the point of fate. Saturn is that planet that represents the long term. And so since you'll have the North Node kind of aspecting Saturn, especially in September, October, there's this energy where it might manifest as a fated relationship for you, a fated relationship that ends in marriage or ends in some sort of long-term commitment. And it's something that you might have not seen coming, because North Node does have that kind of like unexpected energy about it. So definitely there's like a destined fated partnership that is kind of secured by that Saturn energy. Saturn energy isn't always negative. I feel like people think it's negative, but when you have Saturn energy aspected positively, Saturn does bring that energy of like structure and discipline and long-term results. So you will see a long-term partnership, definitely, I would say, by September, October, with that shift happening, because you're having your 11th house activated, and that aspects the 7th house automatically. So that energy of long-term partnerships is on the way for you. But right now I feel like Pluto's energy is kind of clearing out that old karmic baggage and then preparing you for that whole new partnership, that whole new long-term partnership. And I feel like that ties to the metaphor of like a house being built. First, if there's like a old house, you have to demolish it, tear it down, then build a new foundation, then you get a whole new house. So you're kind of going through that process where it's like Pluto's kind of destroying the old paradigm of like how your relationships usually go, and then Saturn wants to rebuild it, put order to it, and bring you long-term results. The North Node aspecting Saturn in September will kind of bring that secure new home, so to speak, for you when it comes to partnerships, and that is for the long term. And so that brings me to your 5th house. So your 5th house is ruled by Mars, and so Mars is in your 9th house right now, but Mars is going to be trickling into your 10th house, and Mars will stay in your 10th house for the rest of the year. And we talked about that Mars transit in the previous video, but with Mars, your 5th house ruler in the 10th house, this definitely suggests to me that, again, there's this theme of like long-term partnership. 10th house is the house that is naturally associated with Capricorn. It's that house that represents our long-term goals. It's about what we build over time. It's about legacy. So I definitely see you guys, for a lot of Cancer risings, especially in moons too, where it's like you might be in the kind of space to build a family or build a long-term partnership, or even build the foundation for a family. Even though the 5th house is such a kind of superficial or more so flirty sort of house, to have your 5th house ruler in the 10th house of long-term events, long-term achievements, I feel like you're definitely desiring something more long-term starting in August, starting in September, where it's like you really want that secure, foundational sort of partnership. It's almost like you don't just want that superficial partnership, you really want that long-term partnership that matters to you, that is purposeful for you. And I feel like in August and September, you're going to be attracting or kind of be in the mood to attract someone more serious and kind of not be with the whole fling sort of thing. I feel like you're really focused on your goals right now and really ambitious and fulfilling those goals that you do have. So it's like, so if the person that wants to be with you or the people you attract that want to be with you aren't serious for the long term, it's almost like you're doing away with that sort of energy. And I feel like this really serious, long-term, committed energy for you as it pertains to partnerships moving forward throughout this year. And that brings me to Venus. So Venus right now is conjunct your North Node in the 12th house. So again, there's that theme of karma, and Venus is the planet of partnerships. North Node is about destiny and fate. It also kind of carries that theme of karma. So I feel like you're definitely closing out those karmic loose ends, really clearing up any karmic baggage you have, really clearing out and healing any wounds you have too. So I feel like right now at this moment, kind of like in the beginning of August, you're really doing that healing work that's necessary for ushering in something so stable and long term. So definitely by August, September, especially with this shift, I see a lot of you guys getting into a significant
potentially long-term relationship that does lead to marriage. So with that being said, I do have your August prediction on my channel. I'll link it down below if you missed it. And thank you for watching this video, Cancers, and I'll see you in my next one. Hey Scorpio, so let's get into your reading. So right now we're going to talk about your love life, and specifically what's to come in your love life, what's going to happen for you in your love life, who you're going to attract in your love life in the next couple months. And this is for people in a relationship already or people single as well. So it works for both. And so with this reading, it's going to be exclusively talking about love and your love life. However, in my previous video, I did talk about your August prediction about your general life. So I'll link that down below if you missed it. So right now we're just going to get into it. So this is for Scorpio rising or Scorpio moon. So you can watch this video for your moon sign or your rising sign. And this is for sidereal astrology as well. So sidereal Scorpio rising, sidereal Scorpio moons. So with that being said, we're going to get into what's going to happen in your love life in August and September, and kind of like whatever I see in your chart happening for the rest of the year and what's to come for you in terms of your love life. And so in order to see those trends, we can really look at your 7th house and look at your 5th house to see what's happening in both of those houses, because the 7th house is about partnership, long-term partnerships, marriage, and then 5th house is more so about superficial dating, flirting, and just romance in general. So we'll take a look at those houses, and then we'll also take a look at Venus too. So with that being said, tell me down below what your Venus sign is and what house is your Venus in. So that's going to matter in a little bit. So right now, just tell me down below what your Venus sign is and what house it's in the comments. So with that being said, we'll just start off by talking about your 7th house. So for you, your 7th house is in the sign of Taurus. So the sign of Taurus is actually going to be really activated in September because of the shift that's happening. So in September, the nodes shift into Taurus and Scorpio. So you're really going to feel that energy of Taurus North Node and Scorpio South Node. But as for right now, when it comes to Taurus energy, Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Venus is your 7th house ruler. And your 7th house ruler right now is in your 8th house, and it's conjunct the North Node. So there's this energy of destined, fated partnerships for you, definitely Scorpio. And so Venus is that planet that automatically does signify partnerships and relationships. The North Node signifies destiny. It signifies fate as well. 8th house signifies intimacy and karma as well. And so to have that Venus conjunct North Node right now at this moment in your 8th house, there's this energy of karmic partnerships. There's this energy of intense, fated partnerships that you are attracting at this moment. This stands for you right now, especially in August with your 7th house ruler in the 8th house. You're definitely focused on building those intimate bonds with people. You're attracting a lot of intimate bonds. You're attracting a lot of people in general. I feel like you're attracting a lot of really romantic energy to you, sensual energy to you. There's this really emphasized theme of partnerships for you. And that's because in September, during the shift that I just mentioned, when the North Node goes into your 7th house, there's definitely a new fated partnership that you will be in by September. I will do a separate video about the North and South Node shift, but as for right now, I definitely foresee for Scorpios you getting into a really significant partnership. And at this moment, you're kind of attracting those potential people. Now, for some of you guys, this might be someone from your past, just because there's kind of like that karmic energy when it comes to North and South Node. However, for most of you guys, I do feel like it's a brand new person that you don't know yet. But for right now, I feel like you're kind of that subtle magnet for those people or potential people. And then by September, you can expect to be in a serious partnership or kind of take that partnership or flirtationship to the next level by September. And with the North Node being in your 7th house for 18 months, that definitely does signify marriage. It signifies engagement. So if you're somebody who is in a partnership right now, expect for your partnership to really go to the next level by September. So like engagement, marriage, etc. If you're single, you can expect to be in a partnership by September or October for some. So that brings me to the 5th house. So 5th house, like I said, it's more like superficial dating energy. It's not like as concrete and as long-term as 7th house energy. But let's touch on it anyway, because you do have Jupiter ruling your 5th house. So your 5th house is naturally in Pisces. Jupiter rules Pisces. So right now Jupiter's in your 2nd house. So I definitely feel like this past like several months or past year, past 18 months really, you've been really working on this theme of boundaries, working on the theme of setting your standards, working on the theme of cultivating your self-worth. And so at this moment, I feel like since you have Pluto and Jupiter both in your 2nd house, South Node's also in your 2nd house. 2nd house is really about self-worth and building something to last, right? I feel like you're really focused on really building your own self-confidence up, building your own self-love up, and really focus on treating yourself well, treating yourself how you want to be treated. And by doing that and treating yourself so well, you're going to attract a person that also treats you really well. So come time in September when you attract that really fated destined partnership, or even October, just like in the fall in general, when you attract that person to you, you're going to be really ready for it, because right now you're really being prepared for it, in the sense that Jupiter and Pluto is really kind of transforming how you see yourself, transforming how you set boundaries with people. I feel like you as a Scorpio, in your karmic lesson in life, you're somebody where, especially in your youth, you might have had people in your life where they violated your boundaries, or they don't respect your boundaries. I feel like Scorpios definitely struggle with people disrespecting their boundaries, especially early in life. However, with this energy of the South Node and the North Node and Jupiter and Pluto and all these powerful energies influencing your second, 8th house axis, which is the house and axis of boundaries, you're really working on learning how to set those boundaries and keeping them in place. You're really working on how to set those boundaries, keep them in place, and prevent those people trying to disrespect them. I feel like after this point in time, people aren't going to disrespect those boundaries anymore or violate them against your wishes anymore, because you've had enough and you really have learned that karmic lesson and mastered that lesson of how to set boundaries with people and not have people disrespect those boundaries. So boundaries, self-worth are definitely magnified for you, like at this moment in time, in a general life theme sense. And I feel like the karmic life theme you're learning right now is how to really set them and love yourself, have that self-worth. And that in itself really prepares you for something really lovely to happen for you in terms of partnerships, because you set that foundation yourself. So transformation is a huge theme at this moment, but I feel like a stable long-term partnership is going to enter your life pretty soon, probably in September with that shift. And so that brings me to Venus. Now, we kind of already talked about Venus just because it is your 7th house ruler, but I will emphasize, since Venus is conjunct the North Node right now in your 8th house, and Venus is that sign of partnership, it's that planet of, did I say sign? I meant to say planet, that represents kind of how we bond with other people. So definitely there's that energy of bonding with someone really special, bonding with someone that really is destined for you. And I feel like you're going to meet that person so soon and really be in that partnership with them by September at least, or get in that official partnership by September. And having that energy in your 8th house right now, I feel like you're really focused on cultivating your own sense of intimacy within yourself, focusing on your own self-worth, and really focusing on how you portray yourself in a romantic way in order to be attractive for other people, if that makes sense. So I do feel like for a lot of Scorpios, you guys are kind of like in attraction mode starting in August, then September. Your attraction mode is really going to pay off by that time. So with that being said, I do have your August prediction on my channel already, so I'll link it down below if you missed it. And thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you Scorpios in my next one. Hey Pisces, so let's get into your reading. So in this reading, we're going to talk about your love life, and specifically what's to come in your love life, who you're going to attract in your love life, and really the next major events that will unfold in your life in terms of love. And this is for Pisces in a relationship or Pisces that are single, so it works for both parties. And so with that being said, in my previous video I did do the August predictions. In that video I talked about your career, your general life in August. However, in this video I'm exclusively talking about love and really what's going to happen for you in August, of course, but also in September. And as I'm looking at your chart, I'll just mention anything I see for the rest of the year for you. So let's just get into it. Now, this is for Pisces risings or Pisces moons. So you can watch this video for your rising sign or your moon sign, and it's using sidereal astrology. So sidereal Pisces rising, sidereal Pisces moon. And so when it comes to partnerships and dating and how we can predict that, we can always look at the 7th house and then look at the 5th house as well. And so in this reading, we're really going to focus on those houses, what's happening with those house rulers in your chart, and really what's happening with the 7th and 5th house. 7th house literally is about partnerships, long-term dating, and literally marriage. And then 5th house is more so about like superficial partnerships, dating, romance, etc. And then we're going to talk about Venus as well. So with that being said, when it comes to Venus, tell me down below what your Venus sign is, and then what house is your Venus in. So tell me down below in the comments. It's going to matter in a second, but first we'll start talking about 7th house. So when it comes to 7th house, you do have your 7th house in the sign of Virgo, so that means Mercury rules your 7th house. So let's take a look at Mercury and see what that's doing in your chart to get a good idea about what's happening in your love life at this moment, and in August and September a little bit too. So your 7th house ruler Mercury is sitting in your 5th house. So what this means is that since your 7th house ruler is in the 5th house, as I just described, it's about dating, it's about romance, and you do have the sun in your 5th house right now too. So I definitely feel like in August and September, you're focused on your dating life. You're focused on really who you attract into your life. I feel like with the sun energy, especially in your 5th house, combined with Mercury, your 7th house ruler, in your 5th house for August. And so with that sun and Mercury energy combined in the 5th house, you're definitely going to be very magnetic. When the sun enters a certain house, or it like hangs out in a certain house, it really does symbolize the energy of magnetism, and 5th house is about romance and dating, being flirty and charming as well. So I feel like for you, you will feel that energy of wanting to flirt with people, wanting to be charming with people or attract people, and just naturally attract people quite easily. You're going to be really magnetic in August, and really, especially with your 7th house ruler in the 5th house, really focused on attracting a partner, focused on attracting someone you romantically click with. And it's almost like something you don't really have to try too hard to do, just because you are going to be more naturally magnetic when it comes to partnerships, since your 7th house ruler is in the 5th house of magnetism, and you have the sun there, which does represent magnetism to a certain degree as well. So that brings me to your 5th house. So with your 5th house, Cancer rules your 5th house. That means the moon rules your 5th house. And the moon moves kind of quickly, so it's kind of hard to just make a general description about the moon energy because it moves every single day. So what we're going to do is really focus on your Venus sign and really focus on that north node too. So when it comes to Venus, Venus right now is in your 4th house, and it's conjunct the north node. So Venus is the sign of partnership. It is the, planet of romance partnerships. And north node is that planet of destiny. It is the planet of fate as well. So having Venus right now conjunct the north node in your 4th house, you're really, I feel like you might attract someone, or I feel like for a lot of Pisces, there might be some sort of reconciliation from the past. North node energy does represent kind of that karmic theme, and Venus is the planet of partnerships. 4th house represents the past as well, and past events in a metaphorical sense. So you guys might attract someone from your past, I feel like, or have some sort of reconciliation with someone from the past. For a bulk of you Pisces, this can be like a productive reconciliation, where it is like more so conducive to your better like romantic life. But for some people, it might just be like attracting someone for the purpose of seeing that person and why they belong in your past in order to move forward. So for some of you guys, I do see you attracting someone, but like it might not be for a long-term relationship, if that makes sense. It's more so for like just to reevaluate what your standards are, reevaluate who you want to attract, more so of like a reality check moment, or just like a reminder. So be vigilant of that, because I don't feel like it's a really healthy reconciliation for everyone, but it might be a healthy reconciliation for a lot of people. For those of you who are more so on that path of reconciliation, but like a productive reconciliation that is like more so about like maybe you broke up with someone and you guys both healed separately and now you're getting back together. But for a lot of you guys, it might not be that as productive as that. So with that being said, when it comes to partnerships for you Pisces, I definitely feel like you will manifest a partnership when you really want to. I feel like your chart right now is very much like up to you. It's like if you want to be in a partnership and you want to manifest that, you can. However, there's not really like a super defined time frame of like, okay, you're gonna get in a partnership now, or partnership in September, or even August. I feel like it's like really up to you. You have like this free will energy going on in your chart, but I feel like what's really the focus though is kind of focusing on your past partnerships and why those didn't work, and then moving on to the new partnership come September when the shift happens. So the shift is happening in your 3rd house, and I'll make a separate video about that. It's the nodal shift of the north node going to Taurus, but just to touch on it right now, I feel like you're going to be focused on this whole new way of living for yourself, this whole new lifestyle, and you will attract someone new based on this new lifestyle that you are really manifesting for yourself. And so I feel like you'll attract someone through whatever is, I think in the last video we talked about how you will have like this new life purpose you will be pursuing. So whatever life purpose you're pursuing in the coming months, you will meet someone within that same purpose, if that makes sense. So having a purposeful partnership is definitely highlighted for you for the rest of 2020. And in the coming months, I definitely see this theme of like reflecting and reevaluating what you really want in order to manifest the partnership you truly deserve. With that being said, I do have the August predictions posted on my channel, so if you missed them, I will link them down below. And thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you Pisces in my next one.